During the 1980s, members of various minority groups made significant strides in achieving greater political representation. African Americans, in particular, saw hundreds of community members elected to public office, culminating in L. Douglas Wilder's historic election as the first African American governor in the United States in 1990. Subsequently, several African Americans attained key positions in the federal government, including Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice, who served as Secretaries of State under President George W. Bush. In 2008, Barack Obama's election as the first African American president marked a significant milestone in American history. Despite these political gains, economic disparities persisted between African Americans and whites, with statistics revealing significant income and employment gaps. Although more African Americans attended college compared to the 1960s, the graduation rate remained lower than that of white Americans. Hispanic Americans emerged as the fastest growing minority group in the United States during the 1980s, with their population reaching almost 9% by 1990. This demographic shift signaled the increasing political power of Hispanic Americans, exemplified by Sonia Sotomayor's appointment as the first Hispanic justice of the U.S. Supreme Court in 2009. Immigration reform remained a crucial issue in discussions of Hispanic civil rights, with advocacy organizations like the League of United Latin American Citizens, LULAC, advocating for equal rights and opportunities. Native Americans face challenges such as cuts in federal aid, despite efforts to reclaim ancestral lands and establish educational institutions. While some tribes opened casinos to generate income, these ventures did not resolve long-term issues. Lack of federal recognition remained a significant obstacle for many Native American groups, depriving them of funding and special protections. Unlike other minority groups, Asian Americans did not conduct a civil rights movement of their own, but benefited from legislation ending bans on interracial marriage and protecting voting rights. Despite overall success in economic and social aspects, challenges persisted for some segments of the Asian American community, particularly among individuals of Southeast Asian backgrounds experiencing poverty and lower education levels. Despite the setback of the Equal Rights Amendment's failure in 1982, the women's rights movement persisted and continued to advocate for improvements in both political and economic spheres. Over the years, women made significant gains in political representation. In the November 1992 election, the number of women in the House of Representatives stood at 47, with 6 in the Senate. By 2009, these numbers had risen to 73 in the House and 17 in the Senate. In 2007, Nancy Pelosi made history as the first female Speaker of the House, while several women also held key cabinet positions, including Madeleine Albright, the first female Secretary of State appointed in 1997 by President Bill Clinton. Additionally, 4 women have served on the Supreme Court. Economically, women continued to face challenges. Although around 60% of American women worked outside the home by the early 2000s, comprising 47% of the workforce, they earned, on average, only about 77 cents for every dollar earned by men. Disparities persisted in top-level positions, where men outnumbered women significantly. Efforts to address these disparities included proposals for pay equity systems, where salaries would be based on job requirements rather than traditional pay scales that favored men. However, issues of unequal pay and representation persisted, underscoring the ongoing need for advocacy and reform in the pursuit of gender equality. Among the diverse groups advocating for civil rights, the LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community has faced significant discrimination and harassment. A pivotal moment occurred in 1969 when the Stonewall riots erupted in response to a police raid on the Stonewall Inn, a popular LGBT gathering place in New York City. These riots are often cited as the catalyst for the modern LGBT rights movement. Over the years, activism led to significant victories, such as the repeal of the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy in 2011, opening military service to LGBT individuals, and the landmark Supreme Court decision in 2015 affirming the right to same-sex marriage. Similarly, Americans with Disabilities, a group encompassing over 56.7 million people, have fought for their civil rights. The Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, of 1990 was a major milestone, addressing discrimination in employment, public services, accommodations, and telecommunications. Despite advancements, challenges persist, particularly in employment opportunities. Students have also voiced concerns about their civil rights, especially regarding online expression. While the Supreme Court has upheld students' rights to expression and privacy, recent cases have grappled with the boundaries of school authority in monitoring off-campus online activity. Debates over immigration have prompted campaigns to protect the civil rights of recent arrivals. The Refugee Act of 1980 facilitated settlement for immigrants fleeing political turmoil or violence. However, subsequent legislation imposed new restrictions, such as the Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986, and some states have enacted laws allowing officials to question individuals suspected of being in the country illegally. Civil rights advocates argue that such measures violate immigrants' rights, ensuring that the debate over immigration reform will continue for years to come.